So, good morning. Hi, Lori. Hi, Gary. We'll wait for other people as they come in. Apparently, we just had somebody else pop in. Good morning. My name is Steve Young. I am the instruction and reference librarian here at Life Pacific. My job is really to identify the resources that we have available to the students and teach the students how to access them. And so it's been my pleasure for the last couple of years to be able to do a webinar with our MASL students and really talk them through some of the research process, what we have, and really the entire thing was geared towards that lit review assignment for the SO 500 class. I understand the assignment's actually due tomorrow. Unfortunately, we thought it was due a week later, so this is kind of pushing the time limit on it. But we will try to get through the entire process today, and so if you put it off, you'll have a chance to finish basically your assignment in the next hour and a half or so. My goal here is to let me go ahead and flip this slide here, and I will get to the outline for today. And it says it's now showing, so I need to get there and flip to the next slide. Get back here. As you'll notice, this is not a perfectly smooth presentation. This is why I tend to edit these things afterwards. But this is our agenda for today. We are going to actually work through questions 2 through 7 on your Lit Review assignment. The first thing we're going to do is look at finding books and ebooks. Those kind of work together because they're done within the same catalog. Those two things will be questions 2 and 6 on your Lit Review. We then move to finding books from another library, which is question 3, and that's all within the same catalog, so we'll be able to work through that. And then we'll work through finding articles in academic journals. I'll talk about using limiters, and that's not necessarily a part of the assignment, but it's an important aspect of doing research, and that includes things like limiting by date and peer review and so forth. We'll then talk about finding articles in ProQuest, which is question 4, finding them in Atlas, which is question 5. Then we'll look at outside LPC, so using Google Scholar, and we'll talk about interlibrary loan for articles. So by the end of the next, what I assume was going to take us about 45 minutes to an hour, we'll have walked through, I will have demonstrated, and hopefully you'll be following along on your computers, and we'll get through all 7 questions. Those are not showing up? This entire thing is not showing up.
I advanced the screen.
Sorry, I have Gary talking in my ear, and he's telling me the agenda was not showing up. But right now I have the agenda showing, and so it kind of walks us through where we're going. And then after we finish going through these different steps, we'll get to a Q&A, and there you guys feel free to turn on your mics, and I'll try to spend 15, 20 minutes, whatever is necessary, to work through whatever questions you might have. If you got stuck at some point, we might be able to walk through and work our way through that. To let you know, this is a limited version of this research process webinar. This does not include going through finding theses and dissertations. I know Remy likes those ideas. What we've thought of is putting that more towards the capstone research webinar. So that's not going to be covered in this next hour. This also does not include all forms of search beyond LPC. So there are other aspects of visiting other libraries and things that we're not going to cover in this time. There are more things that are covered outside of this webinar. We have LibGuides, and we'll talk about those at some point. Where I have 2 LibGuides, there's one on online search techniques, and that will help you if you're trying to figure out how to phrase the right phrase to get articles and books for your topic. And we also have a research strategies for papers and projects, and that kind of goes through this entire process that we're going to go through in the next hour. Right now, working with Remy, we're looking at creating a separate webinar for the capstone project. So as you begin your second year, we'll probably start working on, get another invitation, and that one will be more detailed on use of limiters, use of interlibrary loan, use of journals, and also including the theses and dissertations. All right, so I hope that's that for now. Let me see if I can get back to my Skype screen so I can actually see what in the world's going on. Looks like we've got six 6 people attending, which is great. And right now we're going to go ahead and get started with the actual research. Like I said, I hope you follow along on your computers. I will be working on mine as we go through this. So I'm going to go ahead and click over. So hopefully that was visible. Let's see here. I'm now going to go to my desktop, and we are going to, let's see here. Is it going to let me? Oh, I love this. All right. No, that's not letting me. All right, so Gary, am I showing my desktop?
No, it's right on the PowerPoint.
It's on the PowerPoint still. All right. Just one moment as I get through this technical difficulty here. All right, now am I showing my desktop?
No.
What's showing now?
I have the slideshow at this point. It's still showing.
The slideshow is still showing. That shouldn't be there. All right.
Okay, so Lori says she sees Life Pacific College.
Okay.
That's what I see also. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and close that. And so you guys should be seeing the college website. Perfect. All right, so to get here, we're going to go ahead and get to our library webpage. So those of you who haven't done this, hopefully you have at this point, click on Student. 5th item down there is Library, and that takes us to our library webpage. Make that a little bit larger. Now, for those, hopefully you've all done the login. If you haven't, here's a video that shows you how to do that. And if you haven't logged in yet, we will in the next couple minutes. All right, so I am here, and I'm going to click on Advanced Search underneath this LPC Catalog on Discovery. And the reason I do that is that takes me straight to the catalog, and it takes me to the Advanced page, which has multiple search boxes, which is actually a good idea for search technique. We are now going to go ahead and click on Sign In. If you have not done that, we'll go ahead and wait about 30 seconds and let you do that. So when I click on Sign In, it's going to be my username and password that I've already set up. If I haven't, I would have to go here and click Reset Password. It takes about 5 minutes. You'll get an email, you get that a link, and then you get to set your password. I'm going ahead and signing in. And for those of you who are off campus, now it should have your name or some sort of a way of identifying you instead of just saying sign in. That now means you have access to this catalog as well as our databases when you're off campus. All right. Gary, is everybody signed in, or can you tell? All right. Well, let's hope that everybody's gone ahead and signed in, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. So in this top box, it's set as a keyword search. I could change that to any number of things. If I knew a specific author to look for, I could do that. If I knew a specific title, I could do that. Or if later we'll talk about subjects. But right now we're just going to look for a keyword. This is the best way to start. Most of you are familiar with Google, where you just enter a couple of words and hope it works. Right now I'm going to look for hospital chaplaincy. And I'm just picking this because it's a possibility for a topic for a paper. And it looks like I spelled it correctly, possibly. And now I'm going to go ahead and click search. Now this is going to search WorldCat, which is basically going to include all of our books beyond LPC, as well as other things. So our goal in this first step is not necessarily to find a lot of books. Our goal is to find one book that seems to be most relevant to our topic. So whatever your topic is, you enter your keyword, and now we're going to look for and scroll through this until we find one that seems most appropriate. Now, picking my topic of hospital chaplaincy, I've got several spiritual care, hospital setting, lots of things. And I'm just going to pick one here that deals with healthcare chaplaincy. So I'm just clicking on this, and this takes me to a results page. I'm sorry, to my materials page. This is focusing on this one particular material. So what I do now is I look at this, and I look at the descriptions. This typically will give me the table of contents or a summary of the entire book. That's one way to know whether the book is appropriate for my topic. The other is to look at this idea of subjects. The subjects are basically tags or proper vocabulary created by librarians, and all the books are arranged in this way. So this particular book that I looked at has several of these subject headings, and one of them happens to be chaplains, hospital. So I was looking for hospital chaplaincy, but the correct authoritative term is hospital chaplains. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. For me, it's a Control-C. For Apple people, couldn't tell you what it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and click on Advanced Search, and I'm going to come back here to my Advanced Search page, and I'm now going to paste that term, chaplains, hospital, and I'm no longer looking for a keyword. I'm actually looking for a subject heading. So I'm going to click on Subject, and now I'm going to click Search, and what's going to happen is it's going to give me the results of all of the books that have the subject of hospital chaplains. It's going to narrow it down. I should have, in some cases, I should have fewer than if I just did a keyword search for hospital chaplains. And wait for a second here. Or waiting for longer than a second as it's still continuing to search. And I now have 1,100 results. That's still a long list, but there are ways here on the left to eliminate several of them. But you'll see that that's the way I can do this. So now if I wanted to be more accurate, so I've got 1,100. If I wanted to, I could go back to that advanced search page and add a keyword. So this time, instead of hospital chaplains as my subject, I could now go here to the second box and add a keyword. So if I added something like grief or prayer, so it might be the idea of prayer or praying by hospital chaplains and that sort of thing. This might give me some results. So I'm down to 29. So hopefully you see how that works. The idea is to find that one book, look at the description, find that one subject heading, use that subject heading as a subject search, which here in the box comes up as SU as opposed to just entering a keyword, which is KW in this catalog. And that helps us find these books. Now, for your assignment, you're supposed to find books that are available here at Life Pacific. So let me go ahead and come over here, and on the left-hand side, in the upper left-hand corner, it says Library. And right now the box is checked on Libraries Worldwide, and that means WorldCat is searching libraries all around the world. But if I wanted to just limit it to Life Pacific, I click on Life Pacific College, and that gives me all of those that are available here at Life Pacific College. All right, now let me go back here, and I'm going to eliminate the keyword prayer just so that I can get back to that 1,100. So now when I click on Life Pacific College, it still gives me 22 results. Now if I continue on this list where it says library and I clicked on Life Pacific, I can come down here to format, and I can see that there are 3 books and 2 ebooks, or 3 books total, 2 ebooks, 1 print book. So for questions 2 and 6, just using Life Pacific, I can see these books. I can limit it to just ebooks, and now my list shrinks to the 2 electronic books. Or I can click on the 1 print book, and I have that particular list. All right. Now if I had my Skype open, I would be able to see if anybody had any questions. So I'm going to take a second here, ask Gary, does anybody have any questions?
Not at this point.
Not at this point. Wonderful. All right, now let me go back to my list, to my 22 results. All right, so if I'm going to go back up here, I'm going to click on Libraries Worldwide, And the reason for this is I'm now starting to work towards question 3, which is to visit other libraries, or what books are available at other libraries. So I now click on this, and I've clicked on the libraries worldwide. So I'm going to select a title that I might be interested in that's not at Life Pacific. So I might end up having to scroll a little bit. I can limit this to just print books, and I know Life only has a couple. So now I'm looking at some of these books, and I see one here. I'm going to pick number 5 on my list, and notice that it does not say available or anything like that. So that means that Life Pacific does not have this book. And so I know that this book is elsewhere. So instead of clicking on descriptions here on this particular book, under availability holdings, it says libraries worldwide, and here's a list of libraries that have this particular book. So depending on where I'm at, I can change the zip code here in this where it says search locations, and I'm just going to pick a series of numbers. Have no idea where 85215 is. Somewhere near Arizona State. And now this shows me where these various libraries that have this particular title. So if I were near one of these libraries, I might have access to them and drop in and use it at their library. Typically on your screen, it should also show the number of miles from your zip code to these libraries. Hopefully that all makes sense. Now, we don't have borrowing agreements with all the libraries that are on that list, but most libraries, especially academic libraries, are completely fine if you walk in and use the book in the library itself, as long as you treat the book well. Most librarians don't care about that. It's when you try to take the book out and there is no agreement. You won't be able to. All right, so I'm going to take a second here and ask any questions. Do we have any questions going on? Or is this process making sense? I see Lori is writing something here, so I'm going to wait to see if it's a question. Where did you find the questions for the homework? Okay. Moodle for your class, and I believe it says week 3, and it should say literature review library assignment. I believe that's where it was, and to me it came up as I believe it was a Word document, and I was able to access that. Do you all have your lit review assignment?
Yes, I have mine.
Okay. If not, go ahead and, well, I was going to say, you can wait until the end, and my recommendation would be we just keep opening different tabs so that you keep those search results. And you at the end of our webinar here, you can go back and you'll be able to fill in your answers after you check your Moodle page and download the assignment. Does that all make sense, I hope? All right. Let's go ahead and now move on. Now, as I mentioned, opening another tab, because we're now going to move to the idea of finding articles. So I'm going to open up another tab. Go ahead and click on our library webpage again. I'll give you a second to get back to that. So what we're going to do in this next little section, I'm going to talk about what limiters are and how to use them. Limiters can be applied typically before, or they can be applied after a search, as you saw me do with a couple of things there. Usually your instructors will require that all your resources are current. Now, the definition of current depends on your subject. Currency is different for Shakespeare literature as opposed to computer security. One, current might be 20 years, and for computer security, currency might be the last 2 years or less. So if your instructor doesn't supply a time frame, try to stay usually within the last 10 years. In some cases they might say 5, depends on what they're looking for. Most instructors also require peer-reviewed academic, scholarly, or refereed articles. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up my peer review process flowchart. Hopefully that's showing. Gary, is that on the screen?
Sorry, I just received an email from the student. Yes, it is.
Okay. So on this, it shows kind of the process of peer review. So over here on the left, you have the idea that an author submits to an editor an article that they would like to have published. The editor then either rejects it outright, returns it for edits later, or sends it for review. And typically it goes to 2 or 3 peers that are experts in that field, who will then either reject it, accept it, or return it to the editor for edits. So this is the process that it goes through, and it might come back down to the editor. The editor might return it to the author, and the author might make the changes and then send it back to be published. Typically an article goes through this entire cycle at least once, often twice, and then ideally at the end the editor agrees that it is worthy of publishing, and then it is sent to the journal to be published. The time frame changes and varies from journal to journal, but in the end the idea is that the articles that are published that have gone through the peer review process tend to be unique, tend to add information to the field. They're not just a rehashing of old ideas, and it elevates the quality of the article. So your instructors typically will ask that all of your work be peer reviewed, and I'll show you those limiters as we get there. All right, so here we are at the library resource. I'm going to show you how to get to our databases, and the first thing you do is you click on resources here on the home page. It's the tab along the top that says resources. This has talks about our physical collection on the right, or I'm sorry, on the left, databases in the middle, and here I'm going to scroll down in the databases to ProQuest. Why? Because ProQuest is number 4 on your assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that, and this takes me to the ProQuest start page. ProQuest has 5 databases within it, and so this is all 5 databases are going to be searched at the same time. If you haven't signed in already, I'm sure it forced you to try and sign in, and that's a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go to advanced search, because this typically gives me more details. And so again, I'm going to enter into my search box here 1 or 2 of my keywords. You're going to use your own. I'm going to use hospital, if I could spell it correctly, hospital chaplaincy again. And you'll notice that it keeps giving me various suggestions, or is giving you various suggestions, and that's great. You might actually find the one that's spelled correctly, and when you're like me, it's a good idea to click on the correct spelling. Now over here to the right of that search box, it gives you the opportunity with the drop-down box to search anywhere, search the author field, search the title field, subject heading, and this is just like the books. What we're going to do is do this as a keyword search, look for the subject headings, and then we're going to search for those subject headings. All right, so here's my keywords here, hospital chaplaincy. I'm going to go ahead and click search. And it is searching. In my case, I got 2,215 results. Now, like I said, your instructor probably wants you to search for peer-reviewed. So if I open this little box that says peer-reviewed, found about 3 inches or 2 inches underneath the number of results, I can click on peer-reviewed, and it limits my results from 2,200 to just 764. That is a wonderful thing to do, to drop it that many. So I'm now going to add another limiter. I'm going to come down even further, and it has publication date, and I'm going to enter a date range. All I have to do is click this, and if we're going to stick with a 5-year rule, 2012 and ending in 2017. Click that, and that should drop me from my 700 to just 200. Now, what I want to do now is take a look at these little subjects and these little descriptions of these articles. These are all journal articles, and I might want to find one that seems most appropriate. Here happens to be one, an exploratory review of roles of chaplains. What I want to do here is I want to click on these abstract details, and this is now going to tell me, just like the details on the book catalog, give me a list of subjects. Here it has professional ethics, religion, confidentiality, and clergy. None of those are actually what I'm really looking for, because this also would consider a pastor visiting and not just the idea of hospital chaplaincy. So I'm going to go back to my results and see if I can find one that's specific to hospital chaplaincy. Number 5 tends to look good. And again, it has clergy and all of that. I do have under MESH, which happens to be medical subject headings, chaplaincy service hospital. That's the subject heading I want. And now it limits my results to just 34 that are peer-reviewed within the last 5 years. Now my list of what I need to search for, very short, very easy to get through, and in fact this would be the list I would pick for my literature review assignment. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. Let me come back here to the Skype and see if there are any questions. Feel free to type those in and I'll see if I can get back to you. I see Lori is typing something. Oh, okay. All right, Lori, if you can wait to the very end, I could probably send it to you once this entire presentation's over. All right, so let's see here. So that is ProQuest. That is finding things within ProQuest. Again, we tried keyword, then we looked for the subject headings, and then we added our limiters. All right, so question 5 is finding the same kind of articles except using the ATLA Atlas articles. Those are found, I just switched back to the library website. Again, under resources, I have a list of databases. We had clicked on ProQuest just a second ago, and now I'm going to go ahead and click on EBSCO. EBSCO hosts several databases, including the ATLA religion database with Atlas serials, which is why we tend to just call it Atlas. Much easier to say. I click on the EBSCO, opens up in a new page. And here I'm going to go ahead and click on this EBSCOhost web, and that takes me to their search page. You'll notice this again, several boxes, drop down to change to author, title, and of course there's a subject search. Now I am going to choose my databases. This allows me to add or subtract, and what I really want to do is just search the ATLA. So I got rid of all of them, clicked ATLA, the Atlas, and clicked OK. All right, so now that I'm here, I'm again going to search for my keyword or two. Hospital chaplaincy, and I see it, so I'm going to go ahead and click on hospital chaplaincy and click search. I end up with 66 results. It's not bad. You'll notice on this list it's given me results, and with each of these underneath the title there's a thing that says subjects, and it gives the actual subject headings. So I see that the subject I really want is chaplains, hospital, as opposed to hospital chaplaincy. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, replace my keyword with my subject, which makes it a far more precise search. And I'm going to come down here to subjects. Let's see how many I get. 937. So this is just 937 articles dealing with the concept of hospital chaplaincy. Again, I'm going to use my limiters. Again, they're here on the left. Third one down says scholarly peer-reviewed. I dropped from 937 to 690. And now I want to change my date range. This goes all the way back to 1947. I want to do it to just the last 5 years. So what was it, 2012? I should drop down to 81. So now this is the list I would pick from for my literature review. I've got 81 articles to choose from. I have the authors, the titles of the article. In here is you also have the source, which is the title of the journal. That's kind of a giveaway as to whether some of these are actually a very good source. And also I want to check with my subject headings to make sure that I'm looking for what I find. Now, if in your case you have over 200, 200 will take you a few minutes to get through, but if you have over 200 and you want to limit this further, you can actually add another keyword. So as I said, here I am with chaplains, hospital as a subject heading in my upper left-hand corner. I'm actually going to add the keyword grief. I love the fact that it starts to add things to it, and here it says grief or loss or bereavement or mourning, because how does a hospital chaplain deal with that? So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Again, I'm going to leave that as a keyword and see if I go from 81 to probably fewer than that, to just 4. So just by doing that, I have then narrowed it down to a much more precise level of things. So this narrowed mine down to 4. It might narrow yours down to 50 or 20 or depending whatever your subject is. But this is one of those awesome ways to find the most precise things. Look for subject heading, use subject heading search, and you can then use a keyword. So of those 4, all of them have to do with hospital chaplaincy and bereavement, hospital chaplaincy and grief, and all of these would be absolutely appropriate for the lit review assignment. All right, I'm going to go take my second here, come back to this and see if anybody has any questions. Feel free to pop up and ask anything. All right, no questions. That's great. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to Google Scholar. Now I'm going to open up another tab. Like I said, we're trying to leave these tabs open so that when this is all over, you can just copy straight from your tab into your assignment and you'll be done. So Google Scholar, we're going to go ahead and go to scholar.google.com. And this takes us to the first page. Now, you could search from here. I wouldn't recommend it at this point. One of the things we want to do is you want to set it up so that if you find an article here and Life Pacific actually has it, you'll know. So under this settings widget, we're going to go ahead and click on that. There is on the left-hand side a thing that says library links. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on library links. And here in the search box, I am going to look for one thing. I'm going to look for LPC. When I click on that, I actually get a couple of different options. The only one that you want to have checked is the one that ends with get from LPC. That is the one that is the most current, how do I say this, the most current connection to our catalog. Once you've clicked on get from LPC, unclick anything else and go ahead and click save. And I'll show you what happens here in just a second. Okay, this takes me back to the search page. If I want to do the advanced search, I go ahead and click on the little arrow within that search box. One of the downsides of searching within Google Scholar is that it does not use subject headings, which is the most precise way to do this. This just is keyword searching, and so here you're going to give it a try. So again, I'm going to look for hospital chaplaincy and grief. Notice my little box because I practiced, and there it is. Return dates, I'm going to go ahead and set that as a limit. So 2012 to 2017. And so now when I search, let's see what happens. All right. So here I have my return results. It says there's 8,000 items. That's great. As I look here on my right-hand side, just beyond the article description, down here I have an article that has a link that says get from LPC. In fact, I have a few of those get from LPCs on this page. What that means is if I click on it as get from LPC, you'll find it in one of our catalogs, either in ProQuest or EBSCO or something like that. So we already do have access to those. So here's my list of things, and it includes books, it includes several things. I have limiters over here on my left, include patents. I can get rid of patents, include citations. I could do that. So now what I'm left with is books and articles that deal with this topic. And it only dropped it down, in my case, to 8,400. Alrighty, let me see what else I wrote about using Google Scholar. Yeah, I'll get there in just a second. All right, so now that we've done the search, we've done the advanced search. Couple things that I do want to point out. Google does have a wonderful thing within this. Let's say I'm looking at here for me the I don't know, fourth article down here. It says supporting bereaved families through neonatal death and beyond. It doesn't have a link to a PDF. It doesn't have a link to LPC, so this may not be available to me right away. But it does have this wonderful thing here. It does have cited by. All right, cited by is a wonderful option. So if I click on cited by, this is actually going to tell me all the articles that Google is aware of that actually use this in their work. So if this book is a great article that, say, I really wanted to use but may not have access to, I can click cited by, and it gives me all the articles that are using that are quoting it within it. So it's a way of looking at the next generation of articles, as it were. All right, so that's a wonderfully fun thing to use. Some of them are not exactly in English in this case, but that's fine. Let me go back here. Point out on that same particular article that there is a cite feature. We have this in all of our databases and all of our catalogs. If you click on cite, it gives you the options for citation format, and this is meant to be exactly what appears in your Works Consulted or reference page. It's a good idea to double check with the actual style guide to make sure it's correct. They often mess up names, but this is fairly correct as far as that's concerned. All right. See, anything else I wanted to say? Cautions about Google Scholar. This isn't everything that's out there, just what Google has access to. Not everything in here is peer-reviewed, so you have to be careful as you approach those things. The dates are sometimes wrong, and by that, if you look at all of these articles, it will tell you a date here next to the title of the journal or the title of the book that it's coming from. And sometimes those dates are actually the date that Google accessed it, not the date that the book was published. So you really need to be careful with some of those things. And my biggest caution, as I said at the very beginning, is this only searches keywords. It doesn't search subject headings, and so it can go off topic very easy, and you're also inundated with a ton of material. All right, so let's say I'm here at Google, and I really did want this fourth book or this fourth article. I'm now going to show you what's known as interlibrary loan as far as searching for an article. I'm going to go ahead and click on Cite, and I now have a citation. I have MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, several different formats. I'm going to go ahead and highlight and copy this citation from APA format. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is go all the way back to my book catalog. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up another search in another tab. Go to my advanced search page. And I'm just going to paste that whole citation in this one box. All right, so it has it has the journal name, journal title, has the publisher, has the date, all in one box. I'm doing it as a keyword, and I'm just going to click search, and let's see what happens. Nothing in this particular case. Probably gave it too much information. Let's go ahead and eliminate everything except for just the author and title. Let's see if that gives me the article. Nope. Often this works. I should have picked one that I tried beforehand. So now I'm just down to a title. I'm going to go ahead and click that. All right, and it gave me 22. And I see that the second one is the actual article I was looking for. Now, notice that it doesn't say available or available online. This is a wonderful thing. I can click on the title, and here it is. And basically it tells me it's in this seminars and this and all of that. Down here under availability holdings, I could enter the zip code, or there's a little blue box that's now orange when I hover over it, and it says request item through interlibrary loan. So if this is an article that you're interested in, you can click request item. All you have to do is fill out this brief little form, And I'm going to say typically with less than 72 hours, you should probably get a copy of the article as a PDF sent to you by Gary. Um, that's typically how that works out, as I'm going to turn around and look at Gary, and he's going to either say yes or no.
But say at least 2 weeks. I mean, you could plan
For journals?
they're fast, but
Okay.
just
All right, Gary's giving me a very pessimistic, it might take as long as 2 weeks. Okay. But a good number of these, most of these are pretty fast. This is one of those things for typically for assignments where we tell students start early. The earlier you start, the more material and the better the material you can have to access. Alrighty, so I've now done everything that's on my agenda. Finished in 41 minutes, and now I'm just going to go back here to Skype and see if we have questions. Feel free to go ahead and turn on your mic if you'd like. If you've got a question, let's see if we can answer some of those questions. Or I'll just sit here in silence for the next 15 minutes waiting for... No.
Hey, Steve, this is Dale Jenkins. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I dropped off for just a second. My page had to reload, and so I lost just for a second. I think that I basically get the gist of all of this. It is a lot of information all at one time, but one thing I wanted to mention for Lori, I don't know if she can hear this, but that one paper that is for our assignment, mine is called Literature Review Library Search. It's like a 4-page thing. That's what you're basing this off of, correct? With
yes,
all of the questions.
That's correct. And it was found in Moodle on week 2 or 3. Do you remember?
Oh, you know what? I don't remember, but I want to say maybe week 2. I don't remember that specifically.
Yeah, and we were trying to do this actually a week before the assignment was due, but this semester, the way it was lined up, or this term, how it lined up, we're unfortunately doing it the day before. But if you followed along and you kept opening those tabs, you should have all of the answers to fill out that form. So
one question that I have is that my particular, and again, I'm just barely scratching the surface here, but my particular topic doesn't seem to be pulling up a lot of peer review type information. In fact, even that subject, that was very interesting to me, how you did a keyword search, but then tried to find the official subject title or whatever. So I'm going to be looking into that. But I guess that I don't even really know what my question would be, but it just seems like so far I'm having kind of limited results. It's just coming up with a lot of other things that are really kind of off topic for me.
Okay, well, let's take a second here and let me see if I can actually find one of those subject headings for you. What, may I ask, is your subject?
Yeah, so some of the key words would be pastoral transition and pastoral tenure. What I'm trying to look at is the connectivity between, I think a lot of people have said that the longer a pastor is at a church, a lot of times you'll find that that church is, has some health to it because of the longer pastoral tenure. Okay. My question is really relative to more of the transition. What happens when that long-term pastor transitions out?
Leaves. Okay.
It's difficult for the pastor, but also for the congregation. So trying to just think through how to plan for that. Okay. That's probably where I'm leaning for my capstone.
Okay. I'm going to give you 2 suggestions. First, let me pull up here our library homepage. Okay. Is that on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Over here on the left-hand side, it says LibGuides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so online search technique is actually kind of like picking keywords. There is one that is entitled Research Strategies, and that actually shows you how to find some of those subject headings. And it gives you the option of finding it through the catalog, how to find it through the Library of Congress, who actually makes up several of those keywords, or those subject headings. But let me see if I can find one. And I happen to know that pastoral tends not to actually be the term.
Right.
But clergy.
Okay. Because pastoral kept bringing up things regarding shepherds and out in the fields and things like that.
Yeah, so I'm just looking up here. I'm on the next thing. I went back to the catalog. Clergy tenure.
Okay.
let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and just limit it to print books. I got fiction. Let's see here. 3 letters. The clergy and the clearances. Clergy appointment and tenure from 1892. I'm going to guess that's probably not what I want. That might be a little old. Okay, so let's try retirement. Oh, look, there's the Jan Karen books. Those are fun, but not related to your topic. Mastering transitions. Okay, this might sound interesting, so I'm going to click on descriptions. Clergy relocation, that's not going to be what we're looking for, but this idea of transition might be an idea. This actually is more about the idea of the pastor actually moving on to the next church. Okay. So, clergy, I'm going to add church health. Theology of church and ministry, no. This is giving me a lot of historical issues and about the pastor's health. The health became more of related to the clergy. All right, so basically you hopefully you get the idea of I'm looking for a book that sounds most appropriate to try and find that. Let me show you one other thing. And this is mentioned in that search strategies. And this is catalog.loc. That stands for Library of Congress.gov. This is complicated, and this gets messy. And it may not be fully online right now. Down here it says Browse. Hopefully this is on the screen.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
So I'm on Browse, and I'm going to subjects containing. And so I might do something like clergy succession. That would be the idea of the next pastor coming in. Let's see what comes up. Nothing. Okay. Let's try clergy tenure. Office of clergy. Okay. So you'll notice that it's got this really bizarre kind of structure. The double hyphen basically means it's a different term. So you've got clergy, English, office, history to the 1500. So it's got all these different things. And the idea we're looking for is clergy office, biblical teachings about the office of clergy, decision making, evaluation, and it says there are 46 here listed. Psychological aspects, so that would actually be the psychology of being a pastor. So instead of looking for clergy, we might actually be looking for church health.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
And this is actually very helpful because some of the dead ends that you're hitting are some of this. I didn't look exactly the same places, but that's what I was finding. So I definitely know that this looks like to be an untapped resource. There's probably not a ton of stuff on it, but if I find the right kinds of words, I guess that's really more of what I'm looking for right now than anything.
Right. So I just looked for that search for church health, and you'll notice it's got down here health religious aspects. So the idea of cleanliness and keeping healthy according to the Lutheran Church, according to the Methodist Church. So it's got some of those interesting ideas, but that's not, how do we say this, a healthy congregation. This is looking at hygiene kind of idea and mental health.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do I say this? Your assignment's due tomorrow?
Good luck.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Let me see if there's any other questions, and if I need to, I'll come back to this. Okay?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Let me see. What else? Do we have anything else? Anybody else with other big questions? I see Gary's been involved with several conversations. Great.
Hey, Steve, this is Carrie.
Yes, Carrie.
I asked Gary, but I'll ask you real quick. When I went up to Google Scholar and chose LPC Library, I actually had, I think, WorldCat on there. Can I go ahead and add that back in so I can have a broader search? Is that possible to do that?
If it's adding worldcat.com, I believe it is,
Uh-huh.
that should be fine. And
Okay.
what that's going to do is going to end up adding, how do I say this? Something like 30,000 libraries and their book
Yeah.
catalogs. So
Yeah.
you'll definitely get some hits.
Uh-huh.
Whether you have access to them, again, that's going to be the question.
Okay, great. Yeah, because it removed it when I went ahead and saved, but I figured I can go back and search for that as well. Can
Yeah,
I just do WorldCat instead of a university name? Okay.
yeah, you should.
Or she can put LPC and it will open WorldCat will come up again.
Okay,
It will. I
yeah,
heard that. Thank you.
okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right, anything else?
William's typing something.
Okay, Williams.
Yes.
Yeah, so William just asked if this is going to be available. I'm going to say yes. It's probably going to take me 15 minutes after this is all done for the computer to process, and then I will have a link to it on the MASL LibGuide to the LPC library. That's one of the LibGuides that we have created for you all. It will be the unedited version over the next week or so. I'll probably edit, which will probably be too late for you. But if you were really desperate, you can actually look back at some of the older versions that are actually still posted there. All right.
Steve, this is Carrie again. I have another question.
Sure.
Did you cover, and I might have missed it because we were scrolling through pretty quick. I was actually searching while you were doing giving instruction, but ebooks. When it comes to ebooks, are they going to be sent? Can they be sent to us in the same way that we can request articles as well from LPC Library?
Ebooks. Okay, let me see if I can do a quick ebook. All right, so I'm going to go to. Hopefully, you're seeing this. Is my library webpage on?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click Advanced Search. I'm going to Hospital Chaplaincy because that was my little thing. I'm going to go ahead and click Search. And if you'll notice on my list, because I'm already logged in, here this first book on my list says Access Online. This is actually an ebook. You can probably see that little symbol up here underneath the author and title. Can you see that?
Yes, I see that. Thank you.
Okay. So if I click Access Online, this is now going to take me to EBSCO because most of our ebooks are under EBSCO. So here it takes me to this page, and I can basically look at the entire PDF and read it that way. In some cases, I can actually open up the table of contents here and actually read a chapter online. So here's a chapter 1. Okay, let me see if I can go back to this. Now there is the option to download the ebook. To do this, you have to have a profile set up within EBSCO. So up here at the upper right-hand corner, there's several things, and there's the sign in. And here you can just create a profile like you would for any web application kind of idea. It doesn't have to necessarily be your username password combination. But then once you have done that, you can download, and before it downloads, it will ask you to install one piece of software, and it's called Adobe Digital Readers or a Digital Reader Edition. It's basically the same thing as a PDF reader, except it's for reading books. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, that really does. And I noticed that one was available, so you could immediately download, and it's great that you can get that in PDF format. I was just wondering, is there any time when that isn't available? And if that's the case, how do we get access to, or are all ebooks available? Just
Okay. How do I put this? Let's see here. If it comes up on this list, all right. So I'm back here on the catalog. If I click on this Life Pacific College, that's going to eliminate all the other ebooks out there that are owned by other colleges. So here, you're following along here on the left-hand column? I'm going to go down to Format.
oh yes, I got it.
It says we have 4 ebooks. So if I click on that, all of them have access online.
Yeah, I see that now. Great. That helps me just to filter down. So that's very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
If it actually, if you get there and it says it's not online or not available, that probably means that somebody else is already looking at it at the same time.
Okay.
It's
Great.
virtually checked out, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. That helps.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else, or do I go back to Dale?
I know we're sitting in the same house, which is so funny.
Steve, do you want to demonstrate the citation feature of the catalog? And
Oh, okay.
just because I'm sure that would be of interest.
All right. So Gary's reminding me that I something that I didn't cover in this, and that is the idea of citation. We all hate creating citations. The wonderful thing about all of these electronic databases and such is they do have citation generation. So here I'm back on my catalog. I'm going to click on this one book, which happens to be an ebook. And so here on the materials page, I've got the title across the top. I've got the author here, William Smeets, and so forth. And I could click on description, and it would give me all of the information to actually create the citation. Or over here on the right-hand side, it says share, cite, or save. If I click cite, it asks me if I want it in MLA, APA, or Chicago. I click APA, and there it creates the format for me. As I said when I was talking about Google's things, so I can copy and paste this into my reference page, and that would be just fine. As I said with Google, always double check to make sure that it actually is the correct format. In some cases, it will mess up authors and titles and so forth. Let me see if I'm going to go up here to an EBSCO. So here I am looking at an article. I'm going to go ahead and click on the article. This takes me to one page, and over here on the right-hand side of this particular article is a cite feature. And again, here's APA format for this particular, including the DOI. So I can copy and paste that. ProQuest, click on the title, and here's a citation feature as well called Cite in the upper right hand corner, and I can choose from a drop down from a number of different formats. So here's the format that I could copy and paste again into a reference page. I hope that helps. I know the undergrads tend to be really excited about that because that saves them probably an hour or so. All right, any other questions? And there's silence.
Are you there?
I'm here. And who's speaking?
I'm not speaking, but I'm going to say thank you. So I appreciate what you gave to us today. So it's been very helpful, and hopefully we can get it done by tomorrow night.
If you left those tabs open, you should have all of those resources, except for your husband, who apparently doesn't have any resources.
Exactly. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
We're working on mine. It sounded to me like Will may have been trying to ask a question. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Will, was that you? No, I'm not getting anything. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, and who
Yeah.
is that?
Oh, that's Will here. Will here.
Okay. What can I do for you, Will?
Yeah. I'm just uh, basically needing to go back and listen to this whole thing because I got in late on the
Okay.
login. Um, for the for all of this stuff, is it the other classes we didn't need this. It seemed like there was not an emphasis on the library and all of the different types of articles and all that we're looking for. Um, is is your advice for someone like me that's just really struggling with this just to um, go back through this tutorial, or is there another resource that would really be helpful?
Okay. I, watching it as it happens isn't a bad idea. So rewatching, even if you just watch the first 15 minutes as I cover how to find a book, um, it's the same methodology. It's just using a different catalog. So
Okay.
even if you just watch those first 15 minutes, that would be great. We do have the two libguides, which I have mentioned, and those are our. Let me go ahead and pull those up. So here I am back on the library homepage.
Okay.
That's on your screen? All right. So here it says libguides, and I can click to see all of the libguides. And in the MASL course, there are 6 libguides that I've created here under course guides. But under general purpose, there is the MASL guide to the LPC library. That's where this video is going to be hosted. And then there's one underneath it entitled Online Search Techniques, and that covers some of what we did. And then here's this research strategies for papers and projects. And this actually goes kind of into, as I click on this, developing a search strategy, which talks about using keywords in order to get to the subject headings. And so it walks you through the same process.
Okay.
Does that?
Yeah.
So there's a
That's
couple
good.
ways, in other words, to get the same information. Either go through the libguide or watch the video.
Um, did you cover the Atlas?
Atlas? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You already covered that. Okay.
Yes, I did.
You had mentioned something about some of these articles take 72 hours to 2 weeks to have it emailed to you.
Yes.
Okay.
That is called interlibrary loan. Okay, and let's see if nope, that's Library of Congress. Where was I at? I had one where let's go ahead and, I'm just picking an article here. So here I have a reference here to a spiritual care and theology something or other. And what I end up doing is I go back to our book catalog and I drop the entire citation in. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and eliminate a bunch of stuff. So I'm just really down to title. Makes it a lot
Okay.
easier.
Yeah.
Okay. So here I'm down to just the title of the article. I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And so here's that same article. And it actually says that we actually do have access to it. Here's one that says we don't have access to it. So let's go ahead and click on that one. So I clicked on the title. That brings me to this page. And here it says request item. Do you see where it says request item?
Yes.
Okay. All you end up doing is clicking on that, fill out this brief form, which really has 5 little boxes that you have to fill out. And then Gary will get the request, and like I said, some of the articles, it's as fast as 72 hours. If it's from a really bizarre journal from another country, or it's only held by three colleges in the country, it might take a week or 2.
So it's okay to put down that article as something we're going to be getting, even if we haven't received it yet.
Yes, because as far as I know, for your lit review assignment, at least this part of it, it's just a list of citations of items that you could use.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether you end up using it for the next assignment, that's up to you and your instructor.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Did that
Thank
all
you.
make sense?
Um, well, like I said, I'm gonna have to go back and start over.
Okay. All right.
So, one thing I want to make mention of as well is that we do not do interlibrary loans for books for distance students, and that's because of the turnaround time. It takes too long for a book to be sent to us and then sent over to you, and then by that time your class is over. But you can use, like Steve had shown in WorldCat, you can put in your zip code and see if a local library has something that you could go view or possibly check out.
That was Gary, and we're in the same office, so yes, there was a whole bunch of feedback on that. So Laura Wright, we don't have to actually settle on these resources. And Gary, this assignment is due in 5 weeks, so we could possibly have time. Well, what Gary was talking about as far as books is concerned is that books typically take a little bit longer to have another library say yes, and then they actually have to physically ship the book to us. We have to process it. You'd have to pick it up, and all of that is within the excuse me, the typical 2 or 3 week due date. So by the time the book got here, you're a week, you're left with maybe a week to access the book, if that. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, articles, it's no problem because they just send them as PDFs. There is no return. It's the issue with books is we actually have to return them.
But we will send physical books from our library if we own it.
Okay.
We need to make sure that's.
All right. So yeah, Gary was trying to tell you. If we actually own the book, that is, if it comes in a catalog and says, it's available through Life Pacific, yes, we can send those out. We just don't do the interlibrary loan with books. Well, thank you. All righty. Any other questions?
Steve, so we've had a couple questions about their titles or such. You want to encourage them to maybe email you or
Sure.
set up a Skype appointment with you?
Sure. Okay. So Gary was saying that some of you have titles or terms and you're not necessarily finding a lot of material. Let me go ahead and do this. And what I'm doing is I'm going basically to the what should be slide 3, which basically tells you, it asks if you've got questions. And there's my email address. I answer to both the sjung@lifepacific.edu or library at Life Pacific. That's answered by Gary as well. But if you want to set up a Skype meeting for another time, that would be fine. I answer to the email, I answer to the Skype, or even on our library webpage, there's a little chat feature on the right-hand corner, and we can try and work our way through some of those things. I'm typically here Monday through Friday, 8 to noon, and that's Pacific time. But yeah, feel free to ask. It's my job, and I actually like doing this kind of stuff. So if there are no other questions, we can close out, and you can all leave if you'd like. Dale, if you wanted to stick around, I'd be happy to try and work on something for a few more minutes.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, then, I'm going to say thank you all. Thanks for this time, and I hope that it was really helpful. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I'll just work with the with Dale for a little bit then.
Sounds good. Thank you, Steve.